Oh, here we go. We are all set. Let me get my chat open here. Hello, happy summer. I think it's officially summer, right? Or I think it will be soon. I don't know. Feels like summer. How is everybody doing? Before we get started, I want you guys to tell me in the chat, how is everyone feeling today? Looks like summer when there's only a few people tuning in live. So I am so happy if you were able to make it. I love having you guys on here live. I understand a lot of people catch up on the replay, but my core people, I look forward to seeing you every week, or at least seeing your little grayed out screens. That's okay for me. I am, as per usual, excited for our call. Lisa, doing okay, getting outside more, which has been great for the mood. Oh my God, isn't it? And just like seeing green on the trees instead of just like gray. And I'm such a summer person. Those of you who have been with me for a while, you probably see the difference in these calls during the winter versus the summer. Becca, snowball of things happening. Fun. Snowball in the summer. We got iPhone, wishing I was floating in a pool, but doing good. Come on over. My pool's finally ready. We got Katrina, Florida's getting hot. I've heard it's already this season, it's getting crazy. I'm a mutant, so I love the heat. I will say though, I made the mistake of visiting Florida in July one year. I have never experienced humidity like that in my life. Like the walls were like dripping wet where we like anywhere you went. I was like, holy, okay. But I do love me some heat. I'll send a nice air conditioning prayer your way. So today we're going to go over, those of you who've been with me for a while, this may be a refresher. And for a lot of you guys live and on the replay, I think this is going to be something new for you to use for this summer. So let's get into it. So we're going to cover 3 things today. And I don't want anyone to think, I feel like you've been with me, even if you're new, you've been with me long enough, you've seen my content long enough to know I'm never going to be the coach that tells you like you should or shouldn't do something. It's everybody's different. Our lives are all different. I am not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to guide. I'm here to offer tools, offer support, offer insight. You know, if you end up taking any of this advice today, fantastic. If not, and we need to talk about it more one-on-one, even better. But these are from doing this as long as I have, every summer I see a pattern, of just, I used to fight it when I first started. I used to try and wrangle everybody in, and I used to try and put all this structure and throw all this structure at people because the summer can kind of bring this air of lack of structure, right? It's not like in the winter, it gets dark early. We have more time, we feel like, to do things. There's less plans, typically at least, except for the holidays. There's less, average every week plans. Like we're not doing as much. So it might feel, and tell me if you agree, like it's easier to focus on certain things when it's wintertime. In the summer, it's just different. Even if you're not loving summer, I mean, you're sweating your ass off every day. You're feeling more self-conscious because there's less clothing being worn. There's a certain air to summer that is different than the other seasons of the year. So based on the time that I've been doing this, I'm going to go over 3 things that I think are super important to talk about. But again, I don't want anyone to think that I am going to judge you if you don't follow this or if you need some additional work on it. Okay, for the sake of time, we're going to cover this stuff, and any further individual conversation, I am always, as per usual, welcoming. So don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, so first thing is I want you guys to go, as you're watching, if you can, pull it up on your phone. If you go to the Facebook page, the CCA Facebook page, it's going to be an out of breath night again. Sorry. It's been randomly happening all day. Just my heart starts pounding and then I cannot breathe. But we're good. Go on the Facebook page, and under the featured posts, I want you guys to pull up the worth it questions. Pull up the worth it questions from the Facebook page. I'm going to I'll read them as well, but I want you to be looking at them as I'm reading them because I'm going to run through them. All right. So, worth it questions. I don't like the concept of cheat meals or cheat days, quote unquote, because I don't think that it's a very, I get why people came up with it, and it originally was to encourage balance, right? If you're trying to focus on a certain way of eating and living most days, and then some days you have cheat days. But the problem with that is it creates a, I call a shame shelf. You might have heard me say that before. Creates a shame shelf, which leads to binging. And a shame shelf meaning, fuck it, the day is what it is. I can eat what I want because I had this. It's Saturday, it's my cheat day, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't lead to like mindfulness. And what happens if you have 2 birthday parties that week? What happens if you have, multiple events you're going to go to? What happens if, I don't know, just something strikes your fancy one night and it's not your cheat day? It leads to this feeling of quote unquote falling off. And then exactly, Lisa, then it turns into a cheat week. And I don't ever want to think of certain foods as cheating. They're just food. It's like, what, are you never going to have birthday cake again in your life? That's what leads people. Like, I remember I went so gung-ho with keto for so long, and I was like so by the book. So I was like afraid of a cheat meal. I was afraid of a cheat day because I like didn't, excuse me, I like didn't trust myself. I used to say things like I was quote unquote addicted to sugar and like all of these crazy things. But basically, it was just because I was setting myself up to have this very all or nothing approach to dieting and to food for the rest of my life, where I made it so that I was either doing good or doing bad. And I think in the summertime, when you build up this feeling, if you're not, let's say you're not at a point where you're like, we're going to address this later in the call, but like, let's say you're not quote unquote happy with your body and there's a lot more social plans and you see other people eating things that you're quote unquote not allowed to have because it's not a cheat day. It's just creating this atmosphere and this feeling of needing to restrict yourself, which is going to inevitably lead to a binge. So these worth it questions, we're going to run through them, but it's something that you guys can look at. You can copy it, keep it in your notes. But I want you to think about it because I don't think there should be a cheat day or a cheat meal. I think it should just be that you're a grown adult that can gauge for yourself when something is worth it or not worth it, not in terms of, is it worth, is this going to make me fat? Like that's so surface level for all of the things we deal with. But if we look at it as, am I going to suffer if I eat this? Like, am I going to feel like shit for a week if I eat this? And you know what? Sometimes you will. And sometimes that will be worth it, which is what these questions are looking to designate. Because telling yourself yes for something and feeling like you can just move on after, and knowing I might have to recover a little bit, I might have to take it easy, I might have to like just rest because I'll feel crappy, whatever the case may be. I might need to be near a bathroom. Like sometimes it is truly worth it. And then guess what? You get through that period of time and you move on, and you are far less likely to binge or say screw this or fall off or hate yourself or any of that if you're just going to have that little powwow with yourself and just be like, yeah, it's worth it. Now, if every single day it's a new worth it moment, then you need to revisit these questions a little bit closer, because that shouldn't be the case either. But if you have a friggin' ear or two of corn and some watermelon and some birthday cake at a backyard barbecue, guess what? Literally everyone will live. Depending on, obviously if you're allergic, I'm not telling you like go into anaphylaxis, but like if you're going to have a bloated stomach for a week, maybe that's okay. And maybe sometimes it's not. And thinking about it that way will really make you evaluate and be like, do I want it? And I think you'd be surprised. Sometimes you just don't, and you're allowed to make that call. You are a grown ass person. You're not a bad person because you want to eat something. So let's go into these worth it questions together. All right. So 1, is this a special event that holds a sentimental place? So like I have a client who I forget, oh God, it was like forever ago, but there's this certain like fair or festival that comes to her area once a year. And I think it was like handheld cherry pies or something. And she would have a handheld cherry pie since she was a small child. And literally throughout the year, she wouldn't have access to it. Right? So does it have a special event that holds a sentimental place? Now that doesn't mean like it got to the point where she was like, I didn't even want a whole one. I'd have a few bites and then I was good. And that's just, we haven't even gotten through all the questions yet, right? So one, is this a special event that holds a sentimental place? Okay. Two, do you look forward to it? I'm not gonna lie, I look forward to having some flan on my birthday. It's my favorite thing to have on my birthday. Freaking love flan. It's like one of my all-time favorite desserts. So, three, is it something you rarely have access to, like the cherry pie, right? You're not going to be sitting there eating cherry pie every day for the next month and a half, you know? Four, why do you want it? Is it out of convenience, boredom, hunger? Is it a treat you really enjoy? Like, really be mindful. Is it just like the bread rolls at the table before dinner? Like, there's really no reason. You're just like eating because it's there, right? Is there a substitute you wouldn't mind having? Sometimes there will be, sometimes there won't be. Like I've definitely peeled the cheese off of a pizza before and put it on something else, and it was fully satisfying. And I'm not just saying that, like, my old disordered brain is like, just eat the pizza, but not for nothing. It give me the shits. And if I'm out with people, I don't want to have the shits. So, but I did want to taste what the pizza tasted like. So I took the cheese off the pizza and I would just eat that. That's what was worth it to me in that moment. Will you feel regretful if you do not have it? If you're leaving an event and you are going to be racking your brain thinking about it for the next 3 days, guess what you're in danger of doing? Binging on something else. That's how psychology works. That's why. It's not that I tell my clients don't say no to yourself because screw it, throw caution to the wind. We literally have to make changes for our health. It's not just a vanity thing. But if one thing leads to a much bigger thing, then you have to evaluate and be like, well, what am I better off going for? Like what juice is worth the squeeze here? If you're like, I know if I leave, I won't really care if I eat it or not, then that's your answer, or okay, I don't want to jump ahead, but yeah, that's your answer. If you're like, it's really just a thing right now, that's bothering me, then you'll be fine. But if you know yourself and you know it's going to plague you, then you'll also be fine if you have some. This is a big one. Is it worth feeling inflamed tomorrow? Because sometimes it is. It's okay. That's truly, like, I'm not saying that as a trick question, like, you ate a cookie, right? Next week, maybe you won't eat a cookie. Like, life will go on, but you might feel like crap if you eat the cookie. And is it worth it? For me, with the pizza, excuse me, while I'm out, not so worth it. Okay. Can you have a small amount of it and be able to stop easily? Meaning, I love to try things. I'm a curious person. I like to just experience the taste of things. I don't necessarily always need an entire portion just to myself. And that's not me being like, I just need a little bite. Like, if I want more, I will have more. But by being able to trust yourself and be like, do I just want the inclusion of experiencing this thing, or am I hungry? Is this something I want as my full portion? I love tasting things, and it's okay to do that. Like, sometimes I'll be like, Nick will get something and I'll be like, can I have a bite of that? Or I'll have a little bit of it. I'll pack it away. I'll put it away for later and I'll finish it later. Like, it's, if you have a more carefree relationship with things, and it's not like it's so bad if you have it, now is your only shot. You better get it in while you can. Guess what? It doesn't have power over you. It's just something you're taking a bite of. And again, like, I'm not saying do this if it makes you like violently ill or you're like allergic. Do not go into anaphylaxis to try a bite of your partner's cookie. But can you have a small amount of it just to experience it and move on and be fine? Because, like, what's the harm in that, honestly? And then lastly, did an emotional decision bring you to this? Are you eating that thing because you had a bad day? because it's a prize or punishment or, pressure from others, or you feel like you failed already, or you don't let your food decisions be out of anything besides, I just want to eat this thing. I want to try this. If it is, it's not worth it, You're just gonna piss yourself off later on when it wears away and you're like, oh great, I'm inflamed and I have a stomach ache and it wasn't even that good. Sometimes just stopping and reading through these gives you the pause that you need to feel either really solid in your decision to partake in something and have a worth it moment, or really solid in your decision that it's not really a worth it moment. It's a momentary thing and it will pass. And then, of course, there's the other side of it where I'm a big advocate of substitutions. That could be a whole other Zoom, but in the past, I've gotten really tricky with my substitutions because I still want to enjoy myself. For me, that is eating something I like and not feeling like shit. Like that's always going to be the number one thing I'm striving for. I feel like it's a win-win. If it tastes good, it doesn't make me feel like crap. Wonderful. You hit the jackpot, These questions are designed to show you that if you answer most with passion, it's worth it. If you really have to stop and be like, I don't know, maybe it's not. You can still win the day. I'm reading this right off the list. You can still win the day. No judgment. Bodies bounce back. Food, this is something I'm adding now, but food gets turned into poop within a couple of hours, guys. So there's no need to be like, oh, I screwed my whole day because I had one thing today. That is just self-defeat and self-sabotage. It's not true. It's not rooted in biology. Your day is not messed up because you had a cookie that morning, so it turns to poop in a couple hours. Don't stay upset past a couple hours. You're just doing yourself an injustice, especially where the weather's nice and you have like plans and stuff. Thoughts on that so far? Tell me in the chat. Make sure you save those worth it questions in your notes so you can flip through them. Adjust the back on this. I feel like I have the back of an 80-year-old all of a sudden. Gotta love it, huh? Tell me in the chat, thoughts on this so far, especially as summer is approaching and events are happening and we're eating more and we're enjoying more things and the vibe is different. Kids are home from school. You got to entertain them. A lot of times it's with food, let's be honest. Becca said, when my kids have donuts. Yeah. If you want to bite, you don't need to have the whole thing. Ha, Becca, wait till you see what I got next on this list of mindset stuff. I think the drinking worth it will be harder for me. We gonna cover it. Trust me. Helps me understand and take the emotion out of food choice. I love it, especially with summer stuff coming up. Sometimes it's worth it. It really is the truth. This definitely makes me feel better about going to family events, which are always food centric. And the other thing too is like, I'm a huge fan, especially for family events. I will find a sugar-free and truly delicious thing. Like I'm not just blowing smoke up, where, like saying it's delicious. We're gonna trick ourselves into like truly there's so many options out there. And I went to culinary school for pastry. I love a good problem solving. So like text me, I can walk you through it. But I love coming up with something sugar-free to bring to the event. And I will bring enough for everybody and be like, look what I brought. But it's honestly because I want to sit and pick at it all night. I don't want to have to think about portion. I don't want to have to think about like, oh, how much can I have before I get sick? I just want to enjoy. So I will think about something, whether it's like a banana pudding or I really love a tiramisu, or a fruit salad, even like whatever the case may be. I try to make it like what I want to eat and be snacking on all night. I'll bring it. And I won't sit there and be like, oh guys, it's gluten-free, it's sugar-free. I'm just going to bring something I made that's yummy. And if you want to know what's in it, you can ask me. You know, take that, the villain aspect out of food, because it can be delicious and also suited for hormones. So if I bring enough for everybody, I can just park my ass right by it with a fork and I don't gotta think about nothing. My favorite. When I stop and ask myself questions like this, sometimes I get really emotional. I think you're really onto something there. I would love to talk with you more on this one-on-one. If you want to, Katrina, if you want to book a call with me, I would love that. Because this is a very nuanced topic. And if it brings up emotion, a lot of that is rooted in past food trauma, self-worth, moral good or bad based in food, feeling like, lack of control. There are so many things around this that it's definitely a deep and nuanced topic for sure. But it's a good thing that it makes you emotional, because then it really means something, like we're on the right track then. The goal is to get to the point where it doesn't feel so loaded anymore and you can just breathe, you know? Something I've heard so much of, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't want to, I don't believe in medicine stigma and I don't pass judgment, but a very big topic has been around injectables and what I keep hearing people talk about as the quote unquote food noise. And I think that there's something to be said about that, because food noise is real. It's absolutely real. But food noise needs to be worked through on a psychological level. It needs to be something that's healed. If you're hearing a lot of food noise, then that means that there's a deep trigger there, that sure, you can do something physical that's going to block that out, but for how long is that going to last? We don't know that we have access to these things for the rest of our lives. We don't know the ramifications of these things 10 years, 20 years from now. So by just saying, like, I just want to cover up the food noise, that's like anything else we try to cover up. The problem is it's still there, so I think that food noise is something that we don't necessarily talk about enough, but there are so many reasons why that might be happening that deserve to be talked about rather than just shut up. So, okay. Next part, and this is the part where I don't want anyone to think I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum here. I'm not trying to be some frumpy asshole about this, right? I have had so many clients in varying degrees of alcohol use disorder, and I never once will be the person that's like, you need to be sober. That's just not my shtick. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in forcing people. It's the same thing with food. I don't believe in judging people for how they live. I just think there are workarounds, there are mindset changes, there's trying towards things, I believe in harm reduction. So just as my disclaimer, I am not the one who's going to sit here and poo-poo all over anyone because they're drinking, okay? My history with drinking, especially in the summer, I used to drink a lot, and I used to think of it as something far more innocent than it was, because I wasn't like, in my opinion, I wasn't someone who quote unquote had a problem. I wasn't, I was still, we're not going to go based on my early 20s, because no one should judge anyone's early 20s, but my grown self with drinking, throughout my 20s, right? I could be sitting there and I could be eating things to a T. I could be I could prioritize the ingredients. I'd be eating clean, eating throughout the day, protein and fiber and all of these great things. And I wouldn't view the bottle of wine I would polish off at night as something that was hurting me. I would say I would have all kinds of justifications. I've been running around all day. I drink water with it. I'm Italian and Greek, and they've been drinking wine since before, anything. Every justification under the sun. I would switch to seltzer. I would switch to this more innocuous alcohol. I would go for tequila. I even go as far as to say, which this is true, by the way, but I would say tequila improves insulin sensitivity. It's a win-win, baby. Except it's not. It's not great. It's not great. It's become a very socially ingrained part of, especially of the summer. It also, I do think that a lot of it is being neurodivergent. It also helps kind of quiet things. I know we talked about food noise before, but like social noise, it helps you feel more vibrant. It's a nervous system depressant, so it has all of these qualities that make it seem like something that's not quite as bad as it actually is. And again, I'm not trying to be the downer, prude, don't drink. Like, that's not me. I'm just being honest here. Okay. So here's some things that I like to remember for myself. Obviously, this summer I won't be doing any drinking, but and I've never wanted a margarita more in my life. I just want to put that out there. But typically in the summer, I would go through the worth it questions for drinking too. Because here are a few facts. When your body is processing out alcohol, it shuts down pretty much all other, like non-life sustaining systems. So for 36 hours, which is the average amount of time it takes for your body to filter out alcohol, you're not doing any fat burning. You're not doing any metabolizing of anything. Your joints aren't repairing themselves. Your reproductive system is affected. Your blood sugars are affected. Your liver's ability to regulate your blood sugar is affected because your entire body is focused on filtering out what is actually a toxin. I love these accounts where I see people fretting about what countertop cleaner they're using, or, this vitamin is no good for you because of this, and they're fussing and fretting over things. And then they got a recipe for a cocktail on the weekend, and I'm just like, also, they use Botox too, which is crazy to me. Like, you pick and choose, but that's a whole other conversation for another day. This is about balance. Are you never going to have a drink again ever? That's a personal decision. For me personally, I'm gonna have a margarita after I have this kid, but it's balance. It goes into the worth it questions, knowing this. For those of you who are trying to get pregnant, do we all know someone who got drunk and got knocked up? I do. I don't know about you, but scientifically, it's been proven it affects egg quality, it affects sperm quality, it affects implantation, it affects ovulation windows. Again, it affects your blood sugars. So if you have any kind of insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, that's going to affect your insulin and your glucose levels, which will affect your reproductive hormones all throughout the rest of the month, even once it's through your system. It affects your ability to regulate inflammation and your immune system. So you're more susceptible to getting sick and catching a nasty bug out there. You're also more inclined to just experience more inflammation in general. And I don't want to be a downer. It also affects cravings. Anyone notice after you drink, you tend to have slightly more sugar cravings? That's because of blood sugar management. That's because of the sugar content in the alcohol itself. We're not just drinking straight grain alcohol. Not anymore, at least. No one's drinking mystery alcohol out of a gallon jug in the back of the woods. I was young, okay? But I'm just saying, we're drinking things that are, typically have sugar in them. And you're working all day trying to do what's right for your body in terms of the food you're putting in it. It's not the greatest, So now that I've ruined everyone's good time, here's the thing. You can totally, it's just a mindset thing. You can totally have fun friggin' drinks that you enjoy that just don't have alcohol in them. Make mocktails. I freaking love a mocktail. I love a fun drink. It doesn't have to be like the gross virgin pina colada at Chili's. Like, it could be like, there are so many recipes. I can give you so many recipes. There are so many fabulous seltzers and syrups, and you can make your own infusions, and you can like truly have fun. Use fun glassware. There's 0 alcohol White Claws now, which have been a lot of fun for me personally, just because like I enjoy the taste of them. Wherever there's a market, there's going to be products coming out. And nowadays, so many people are going alcohol free because they just don't want to feel like shit the next day. But they want to have fun. So on the physical enjoyment side of it, there are so many alternatives now. Now, on the emotional side of it, I think it's important to explore why you need that release that it gives you, that stress relief. Like it's not, again, I'm not saying this to judge anyone, but it's not good to rely on something that's a toxin to feel more at ease at night. We should be able to find a healthier alternative for that release. And that's where the work is. I don't mind talking, of course, like I said, for the sake of time, I would love to go over this with you guys one-on-one. If you have any questions, if you want to come up with like a little mocktail menu for the summer. I've even like helped people jot it down. Like you can type it out and put on a little piece of paper, keep it in your purse. And when you go to a restaurant or a bar and it's like, let's say it's loud and you don't want to be annoying with your mocktail order, you could just pass the piece of paper with your preferred mocktail on it to the bartender. No one really cares, you know, especially these days. So unless you're going to like a pub crawl, you know, you might get some looks if you're like alcohol free. But like with that, like with everything these days, people are pretty desensitized to those who are needing different accommodations. So have fun with it still. Like with the sugar-free desserts and stuff at the barbecue. Like there are ways to have fun. You just have to make that conscious decision to say, this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes you can have a drink, you'll be fine. But keep this in mind. If you're like, oh, it's the summertime, I'm hammered every weekend. Like, you know, maybe not the best. Thoughts on that before we move on to the last part here? Thoughts on that? I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to make it a dry summer. I'm just here to guide. The chat is silent. Good reminder. Thank you, Becca. I'm sorry. I totally get it. The summer is meant for bevs, but there's lots of bevs, toxin-free bevs too. Did you guys hear about that Poppy lawsuit, by the way? The Poppy soda? Because that was like one of the sodas I would recommend. Because they're like fun looking, they taste unique, you know? Or I really like Olipop too. They make this apple soda that's like, oh, it's so good. Does raise my blood sugars though. So I actually have to take insulin for it. But yeah, Poppy's getting sued because you need to drink like 4 a day to have absolutely minimal effect on your gut. And it's been shown that if you do have 4 a day, it could actually be worse for your gut. So they got to stop saying that it's a pre or probiotic soda. I still think it's like better than just going for like Mountain Dew or Fanta, you know, like who's drinking it for their probiotic amount, you know, content of the day? Not me, but they're getting sued. I'm not a big alcohol person nowadays anyway. Tides have definitely changed, you know? I feel like it's a lot more common to see that. Doesn't impact me as much since I only drink every once in a while now that I learned years back that alcohol is not good for my anxiety, so I'm at peace with that. I can't wait. There are going to be a lot of people listening to this replay texting me like, what the hell do I drink this summer? But, you know, I would rather eat my calories. That's one way to look at it. All right, but I am a lover of mocktails, so please message me. And there's like a lot of different reviews out on like non-alcoholic wines, alcohol-free beers. I heard the Heineken alcohol-free beer is really good. And I love carbonation, so I have drank so many seltzers and sodas just for shits and giggles. So, okay. Last one. This is the big one. Body image. Summer is just a special time in body image hell. So I remember I totally used to be the person, I would never show my arms. I would be in like jeans at the pool, which felt embarrassing because everybody, like, nobody was wearing freaking jeans at the pool, right? And I just absolutely, it's like I felt like the brighter the sun, the more of a magnifying glass there was on my body, on every part of it that I couldn't stand. I felt like every year I was like, oh, here's another year of cute shit I can't wear on this body. It was awful. I hated it. Anyone ever feel like that? Just feels like it's like it magnifies, you know, what you wish was different. And I hated it. And then I realized something. pardon my language here again. What does it fucking matter? Like, I realize, like, and I'm not saying that to be like, oh, wow, Michelle, groundbreaking. I just don't care anymore. It wasn't overnight, but I literally just started thinking about it. And I was like, okay, so like people don't see my size. What if I'm in jeans? Like, there's no outfit I'm going to wear that's going to make me suddenly look like a friggin' Jenner. You know, the jig is up. The proverbial jig is up. And I'm at the pool looking hot and sweaty and uncomfortable. You know, my chuletas are like getting chub rub on the side here because the freaking jeans are squeezing the life out of them and I'm sweating. Why? I'm gonna have a miserable time for what? Does anyone give a shit if I look fat here? Like, and if the answer is yes, and you're with people who give a shit if you look fat, like, change out the crew. Don't even go. Honestly, like, have a different day. You know, go do something else because people like having people suck who care about other people's bodies. And the truth is, most people don't give a shit. You know, most of the time, like your friends know what you look like. You know, no one typically has friends that are like, ew, you're gonna wear that? Like beyond what, college maybe? You know, and if so, again, I'm not saying they don't exist. Bye-bye, get new ones. Because that's just like they're miserable. Grown adults who care about other people's bodies. Your people who love you know what you look like. Your kids know what you look like. The jig is up. You're the only one disappointed. This is the stuff I would tell myself. So I decided to try something out. And these are two concepts. Well, oh, Nick is frying chicken cutlets behind me. And I'm like, my OCD is like, that's it. The flames are going to engulf my kitchen every time I hear oil splatter. So I'm sorry if I'm distracted. So, but the first concept is cute on the hanger, comfy on the body. Make a decision for yourself and make peace with it and just be like, you know what? I look the way I look. The jig is up. This summer, my priority is fun and comfort. My priority is not poo-pooing all over myself every day because I don't look like someone else. Like the jig is up. I'm the only one that's going to decide if I have an awful time or not because nobody else gives a shit. So cute on the hanger, comfy on the body. I'm feeling very cursy right now, but fuck flattering. Honestly, who created that? I hate that word. And I followed it for so long, like so long. And it's not just weight. I mean, I was a victim of is this flattering? Like I got broad shoulders. I have arms, I have rounded shoulders. I have arms that even at my thinnest, they just round out at the sides. I got boobs that don't really like, they don't come out past my frame. They kind of stay inward. Like all of these things I would pick apart about myself. I've got fleshy knees. I've got like, I have my stance, the way I walk. I used to pick on everything, not just weight related. Why? Because of that stupid word flattering. Who gives a shit? Nobody's inviting you to the party for eye candy. They should, because you fine. But like, that's not why you got invited. So comfy on the body, because you're not going to have a good time if you're uncomfy. Like I said, you know, your jeans are suffocating the life out of you. You're going to have a shitty time no matter what. You're hot at the pool and you can't find relief. You're not going to be the life of the party. You're going to be, you know, you need life support at the party, you know? So comfy on the body, cute on the hanger. Do you like the item? Like, does it look like something that's cute to you? Wear it. Screw it. You look how you look. And that might be a radical idea. So when I first did this, I had a process because it's a lot easier said than done. And I was really self-conscious initially. So how I did it, two things. Don't look at the mirror. I know it sounds so crazy. I promise you, you're not going to walk out of the house looking like an unkempt, disheveled mess. You know how to brush your hair. You know how to like overall look like, you know, you're clean and showered, you know, like you know how to put it together. You don't need to sit there and stare in the mirror and you're not going to be at the party like this. Like why are we posing in the mirror? Why are we looking at ourselves like that? We're trying to look for something that is going to be something disappointing no matter what, because there's nothing you're going to put on your body that's going to make you Like I said, nothing's gonna make you a Jenner. You're not gonna put it on and go, oh, thank God. So what are we looking at the mirror for so intently? What are we inspecting ourselves, every square inch of ourselves? If you decide, make the decision to throw flattering out the window, cute on the hanger, comfy on the body, what do you need the mirror for? It's just gonna make you feel like shit. So the first thing is I went mirror free, which was very scary initially, but then very freeing. And then the second part of this, I pretended that I was a paid actor, and my role for the evening was to go and be someone who was enjoying themselves. And I know that sounds a little insane. And it sounds a little bit like fake it till you make it. And that's because a little bit of it is. But I promise you, if you go and you're pretending initially, you're thinking like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's my autistic ass that needs to think about how I should act because I don't know how, I don't have social cues. But I thought about it and I was like, if I just seem like someone who's enjoying themselves, however that looks, then that's like a fun person to be around. Have you not ever encountered somebody that's like, they're having a good time, they're comfortable in their own skin, and like you gravitate towards them? You might even look at them and be like, why can't I have confidence like that? Girl, you can. Well, I don't say girl, whoever's watching this, you can. You totally can. That is not an exclusive right to someone of a certain size. That's just what society and misogyny tells us. And it's all a bunch of bullshit. And you wouldn't want anyone you love or care about, especially not your kids, your best friend, siblings, anyone that you really genuinely love. You would never want them thinking that the only reason that they're allowed to enjoy being in your presence is if they look a certain way. So why do you got the same standard for yourself? So you can look like you're having a miserable time, you're barely talking to people, you're in your own head. That's what's going to ruin the event, not having a fupa. So wear the damn thing that you think is cute. Go to the party. Stop inspecting the mirror on the way out. Just decide you're going to pretend to have a great time. I promise you, it's not going to take that long before you're not pretending anymore. You're in conversation with people. You're looking around. You're present. You're not locked in your head, you know, worried about every little thing, how the seams fit on you, blah, blah, blah. No one gives a shit, I assure you. Unless you are surrounded by assholes, nobody cares that much. It felt good to get out. So make a pledge. Stop giving so much of a shit. Like, have your own back. Even if it's something you have to continuously remind yourself of at first because it doesn't feel natural. It's not, you're not going to hear the Zoom and go, Michelle, you're right. I'm going to the pool in a thong. I mean, if you do, that's amazing. I hope. Enjoy. To be honest with you, like to each their own. I could be any size. I'm not a thong kind of gal in public. Like I like having my ass covered. I don't know, maybe it's the neurodivergency in me. But my point is like, I don't expect you to hear this and go rah, rah, and just feel amazing and completely throw away years of self-loathing. But I do hope I plant the seed. I hope you go. I hope you don't look in the mirror. I hope you friggin' pretend to have a good time. And I hope you surprise yourself when you do. Because you're allowed to do that at any friggin' size. That is not reserved for the thin. Okay? And I wrote this again just for extra emphasis. Stop hanging out with people who make you feel bad about yourself. I don't care what kind of history you have. If you are around people, that I've had to follow this lesson myself. I've definitely had people that were pissed off that I didn't feel bad about myself because they felt bad about themselves. And you know what? They ain't a plant that you got to sit there and make sure it grows. Like, right? You're not trying to take care of them. They're not chia pet. They're not a house plant. That's a person. They're responsible for their own growth. So if they're going to hinder your growth, bye. I remember one time I was feeling really excited about an outfit I was going to wear. And this person's like, you have so much confidence that you can leave the house looking like that. Yep. That's a backhanded compliment. That is an asshole. You know, we don't need those people around. It's okay to be selective. You don't have to be like, well, I deserve it. I'm a certain size. No, 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 no. There are so many people on this planet. You don't need to collect assholes. Right? So before I tangent and repeat myself a million different ways. Thoughts on that? Because I know it's scary. I know the no mirror is terrifying. It was for me, for sure. I know, I mean, and again, this could go so far beyond weight. Like this applies to body hair for me specifically. I think I've shared with you guys before. I have psoriasis, I have different skin issues, I have rheumatoid arthritis and scleroderma. So it's honestly like very difficult. Even before pregnancy, it's very difficult for me to shave because I really can't even like reach very easily. And that also, even after I lost the weight, I would be wearing full pants out in public. I would be so afraid. What if I have some stubble? What if people think I'm disgusting? Has nothing to do with weight. I had to do this even with body hair, you know? And I think at the end of the day, like we all deserve to just exist. You don't have to be on display all the time. You can just go because you want to go. You don't have to go because you want to look hot to other people. Like, who gives a shit if someone at Target thinks you're attractive or not, you know? My husband is autistic, and one time a lady gave me so much confidence to wear that bathing suit compliment, and he could not understand why I was bothered instead of flattered. Oh, Nick, my husband would have said the same thing. He would be like, why are you so upset? She likes your bathing suit. We have two different types of autism. I have the autism where I can analyze something from a mile away and pinpoint exactly like I can pick up on nuance to like a NASA degree. And God bless him. My husband has the whole like not quite understanding the cues, like the subtleties. And I'm always jealous of him for that because I'm like, how blissful, how blissful. But you know, I totally understand. There'll be plenty of time. And I think it's also a little bit of it being a man thing too, because I don't like men don't talk to each other that way. And they also don't have so much pressure on themselves. And so such high standards, you know, like how dare you be a female presenting person and not completely consumed with if you have a role showing or not. You know, men don't give a shit if they got a role. And so I think it's like almost hard for them to realize that something could be so backhanded. It's really annoying. I'm like, just talk shit with me, you know? The rosacea comments, your face is looking less red today. Oh my God, what's wrong with people? Or now that I have my daughter, I've gotten, look, your daughter has red cheeks just like mommy. Oh man, I just feel like we just shouldn't make comments about people. It's so bad. Like, I think this generation, I think it's getting better and better. Like, I think people, I gotta hope that people are gaining like a little bit more emotional intelligence, or maybe we're getting better at establishing boundaries with people. I don't know. But like, man, I know this isn't therapy, but my best friend is very genetically blessed, and I really struggle with her complaining about gaining weight or needing to diet and work out. It's the worst. No, it's honestly the worst. Like, how do you not have enough wherewithal to understand? Like, if you're talking to someone that has the struggle you're complaining about, what are y'all gonna commiserate? Like, I have family members who are also in that same boat, and I'm always like, they'll talk to me like they understand the struggle of having weight issues. And I'm just sitting there knowing fully that they live in thin privilege and pretty privilege. And I'm not gonna burst their bubble and be like, your problems aren't valid. But I'm also like, how don't you understand? Like, our journeys are very different. You know, I did a reel on that the other day. I'm like, PCOS or Hashimoto's influencers who have never been pudgy or ever had to battle an eating disorder, I cannot relate to you. Like, we have different journeys. And not to negate anyone's struggle, but it's frustrating. She didn't believe in pretty privilege. She should try not having it sometime. Oy. It usually comes from older generations. Let me tell you, not for nothing, my older clients would be the first one to attest to this. Some of the comments that I hear from my older clients' friends, I am like aghast. Like, I'm like, oh my God. And it's just normal talk amongst them. It's crazy. Love hearing all that. I used to be so self-conscious, especially because I had family members, especially my mom, asking why I'd wear something. Once I moved out of the house and I decided to give crop tops and other cute things a try, it felt good just to try new things because I love them. Hell yeah. I still get comments, but now I don't care because now I have my own sense of style that isn't dictated by a previous generation. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you love the way it looks, like I used to, believe it or not, because you guys see, I don't know if you see, like I wear patterns, my freaking hair, like I love color. I love patterns. You should see my house. I have a million colors in all different rooms and different patterns and stuff. It just makes me so happy. Like it genuinely gives me, excuse me, so much joy. And I used to really tone that down a lot because I didn't feel like I have big shoulders. I'm tall. I'm not petite. And I felt like I just stood out so much. And let me tell you something, it feels great to wear things that you genuinely love because you're like, I think that's so cute. I love that I found that item. Like it just does something to you. And if you can't, you're not going to change your body to fit something overnight. Like why go through life trying to mute who you want to be for other people's eye comfort? Like Bafangul, honestly. Funny enough, doing red highlights helped with trying new clothes. Absolutely. Oh my God, let me tell you, my first trimester, I couldn't dye my hair, or I don't know, I was paranoid to dye my hair. And I just so didn't feel like me. Like it was, I can't even, I don't know if I ever shared this story with you guys. And then I'll say this and I'll wrap up. The reason that I went red with my hair, I had an ex-boyfriend who was absolutely terrible, just mentally abusive, just absolutely awful. One of those relationships that like really just like knocked you down for a while and like you needed to recover from. And I'll never forget, he would tell me, he'd be like, oh, I hate girls with red hair. It's so gross, especially like fake red hair. Like, oh God, like who are you trying to be? He's like, I would cheat on you if you ever dyed your hair red. I would literally break up with you and cheat on you and blame you for it if you ever dyed your hair red. Like he was a basket case and he was ugly as shit too. So I'm like, I don't know where you got off, but anyway, just saying. So once we broke up and I like healed mentally and I wasn't completely bald over, I got me some fake red hair, and now my entire brand is girl with the fake red hair as the ultimate sign of F you. Like, and I always wanted red hair. That's why he said it. I always wanted to get like vibrant red hair, and I never felt like I was pretty enough or, I just didn't feel like I was allowed to. And eventually just saying like, screw you was the best decision ever. So don't ever try to not find yourself because you don't want to be seen or you don't want other people to have an opinion about you. Like life is so, so short. Why? It's just not worth it. It's not going to make you feel any better about yourself to keep yourself small mentally. It ain't going to make you physically small. So screw it, you know? Okay. These chicken cutlets smell friggin' good and I need to eat. So I hope that this was helpful. I loved our chat. I love these topics. I am more than happy to go into this one-on-one with your own individual needs. Of course, like I said, whether you're here live or you're catching us on the replay, I hope you enjoy the rest of your night and I hope you have a fabulous summer. So, good night, everybody.